My name is Gina Link, and I'm 33 years old. I'm a single mother to a 5-year-old daughter named Lily, and if there's one thing people say about me, it's that I'm strong. They always say it like it's a compliment. Like strength is something you're born with, not something you're forced into when your life keeps pulling the ground out from under your feet and no one bothers to catch you. A year ago, my marriage collapsed in the most humiliating way possible. My husband cheated on me while I was pregnant, during the one period of my life when I was physically exhausted, emotionally fragile, and completely trusting. The betrayal didn't just end our marriage, it shattered whatever illusion I still had about safety. I kicked him out of my life for good. No second chances, no dramatic scenes, just a quiet, devastating realization that the man I married had already left me long before I asked him to. That's how Lily and I ended up moving into my parents' house. It wasn't my idea at first. I had rented my own place after the separation, determined to prove I could handle everything on my own. But my dad insisted. He said the house was too big for just him and my mom, that Lily needed family around, that they'd help watch her while I worked. You shouldn't have to do this alone, he said. I wanted to believe him. So I moved back in, but not for free. I paid rent every month. I paid for groceries. I covered Lily's daycare and expenses. It wasn't charity. It was supposed to be a practical arrangement. And for a while it worked, or at least it didn't explode. My mom rarely babysat Lily, though. She always had a reason. She said she couldn't commit full time, but she was more than happy to keep an eye on the nanny instead. She called herself a baby monitor. I laughed at the time, because laughing felt easier than pointing out how strange it was that my own mother couldn't find the energy to care for her granddaughter, but had plenty of opinions about how others should do it. Still, I told myself it was better than nothing. Having my parents around, even distantly, felt safer than leaving Lily alone with a stranger. That sense of fragile balance lasted until the evening everything shifted. 2 days ago, I came home from work exhausted. My feet hurt. My head was pounding. All I wanted was to eat something quick, check Lily's homework, and crawl into bed. The moment I opened the front door, I heard a voice from the living room. A voice I hadn't heard in years. Sharp, confident, annoyingly familiar. My stomach dropped before I even saw her. My younger sister, Sloane. She was sitting on my parents' couch like she owned the place, one hand resting dramatically on her heavily pregnant belly, the other scrolling through her phone. She looked up slowly, like I was the unexpected guest. My mom hovered beside her, fussing with a glass of water, a bowl of fruit, vitamins neatly lined up on the coffee table. I froze in the doorway. "What's going on?" I asked, already dreading the answer. Before my mom could speak, Sloane shouted from the couch, loud enough to make sure I heard her. "I'm here to stay," she said. "Do you have a problem with that?" Same Sloane, same tone, same need to dominate every room she walked into. I looked at my mom. How long is she staying? Mom avoided my eyes. Sloane's husband got transferred back to the States, she said carefully. His company gave him housing, but since Sloane is pregnant, we thought it would be best if she stayed here, with us. With us, she repeated, like that word included me. So you'll be taking care of her? I asked. Mom nodded immediately. Of course, she's still so young. How could she raise a child alone? She needs help. The words hit me harder than I expected. Sloane was 29. I was 27 when I gave birth to Lily. No one hovered over me. No one brought supplements or cooked meals or offered to stay up at night. My husband was out partying, and my mother told me I needed to learn motherhood the hard way. But now that her golden child was pregnant, suddenly motherhood was a group effort. I glanced at Sloane. She smirked, rubbing her belly slowly, deliberately. She had always been like this. Even as kids, she never liked me. There was no single incident, no clear reason. She just decided early on that she was better than me, and she spent our childhood proving it. She was bigger, stronger, louder. I was small, lean, easy to corner. When she grabbed my wrist as kids, I couldn't break free. When she shoved me, I went flying. But whenever I tried to tell my parents, they dismissed it instantly. She's your younger sister, they'd say. How could she hurt you? So I stopped trying to explain. I learned distance instead. The moment I got the chance, I moved out for school and kept my contact with her minimal. Only spoke when necessary, only stayed polite. Now she was back, and pregnant, and apparently permanent. My dad walked in acting cheerful as if this was a family reunion instead of a ticking bomb. Sloane's going to stay with us for a while, he said. Isn't that nice? Before I could answer, Lily ran down the hallway and wrapped herself around my legs. Mommy! I hugged her instinctively, and then felt her stiffen. Her eyes had landed on Sloane. She didn't say anything. She just clung to me tighter. Something cold settled in my chest. As my mom continued circling Sloan with food and care, attention she had never once given me during my pregnancy, I realized something was deeply wrong. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't kindness. This was favoritism, recycled and repackaged. And standing there, holding my daughter, while my sister smiled like she'd already won, I had a terrifying thought. If Sloan was here to stay, then someone was about to make sure I wasn't. 2 days later, my worst fear walked right up to me in broad daylight. I came home from work earlier than usual that afternoon. A meeting had been canceled last minute, and all I could think about was getting Lily, making her favorite mac and cheese, and pretending, just for one evening, that our life wasn't balancing on a fault line. I turned onto my parents' street and immediately felt something was wrong. My suitcase was on the porch. Not just a suitcase. All my things. Boxes, trash bags, Lily's backpack. Her pink blanket, the one she refused to sleep without, folded sloppily and shoved into a grocery bag like it didn't matter. And sitting right there on the front step, knees pulled to her chest, was my daughter. Lily, 5 years old, alone. For a split second, my brain refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. I parked crooked, jumped out of the car, and ran to her. Lily! I dropped to my knees in front of her. Baby, what happened? How long have you been out here? She didn't answer at first. She just threw her arms around my neck and started sobbing. Deep, shaking cries that felt like they were tearing straight through my ribs. I waited for you, she whispered. I was scared. My hands were trembling as I held her. Who did this? I asked softly. Who put your things outside? She sniffed. Aunt Sloan. The name alone made my stomach turn. She packed everything, Lily continued, her voice small. She was yelling. She threw your clothes. I didn't know what to do. Grandma and Grandpa were inside, but they didn't come out. I felt something snap inside me. Did Aunt Sloan hurt you? I asked carefully, already terrified of the answer. She shook her head quickly. She didn't hit me, but she yelled really loud, and she stared at me like this. Lily widened her eyes, trying to show me. She said I better not cry. Rage surged so fast I felt dizzy. I stood up, scooping Lily into my arms, and stormed into the house. Sloan was standing in my room. No, what used to be my room, arms crossed, looking proud of herself. Oh, she said lightly. You're back early. What the hell did you do? I shouted. You packed my things and threw my child outside? She didn't even flinch. Lower your voice, she said calmly. Do you really want to mess with a pregnant woman? I can call the cops on you for harassment. You know that, right? I stared at her in disbelief. You terrorized my daughter, I said through clenched teeth. I can call the cops on you. She laughed. Do you have proof? She asked sweetly. Was Mom here when I packed your stuff? I spun around. Mom? Silence. Dad? Nothing. Sloan leaned closer. You know whose side they'll take, she whispered. They always do. That was when it hit me. This wasn't impulsive. This was planned. Take a hint, she continued, her voice dripping with contempt. No one wants you here. I'm pregnant. I need space. This house is for me and my baby now. I pay rent, I said desperately. I'm not freeloading like you. She stepped toward me so fast Lily whimpered and buried her face in my shoulder. Do you have a lease? Sloan snapped. A receipt? No? Exactly. How long are you going to leech off our parents? Then she smiled cruelly. No wonder your husband cheated on you. Who'd want to stay with someone like you? That was it. I didn't argue anymore. I didn't scream. I walked out. I loaded my car with whatever I could carry, strapped Lily into her seat, and drove away without looking back. That night, we slept in a hotel room that smelled like bleach and loneliness. Lily didn't sleep much. She woke up crying, shaking, wetting the bed, something she hadn't done in years. Aunt Sloan is going to find us, she kept saying. I held her until morning, promising her safety, while silently vowing something else. I would never let anyone hurt my child again, not even family. The silence from my parents lasted exactly 9 days. 9 days after they helped my sister throw my daughter and me out like garbage bags, my phone rang in the middle of my lunch break. Dad. I stared at the screen, debating whether to let it go to voicemail. Part of me wanted to hear what excuse he'd come up with. Another part of me already felt tired, like I'd aged 10 years in a single week. I answered. Gina, he said immediately, his voice tight. Why didn't the transfer go through? What transfer? I asked, already knowing. The rent, he snapped. The auto debit failed. The bank says there wasn't enough balance. I laughed. Not a hysterical laugh, not a bitter one. A short, disbelieving sound that surprised even me. I don't live there anymore, I said calmly. Your golden child made sure of that. There was a pause. Well, he said slowly, how am I supposed to pay the mortgage now? And there it was, the truth finally naked. You were using my rent to pay the mortgage, I said. And the extra 5,000, he added quietly. You said you'd help us temporarily. I remembered that conversation. He'd sounded stressed, said the store wasn't doing well, asked me to send extra money, just this once, promised he'd return it. I agreed because I was still stupid enough to believe my parents wouldn't exploit me. That's not my problem, I said. Ask Sloan. He went quiet. Within an hour, Mom called. Her voice was sharp, emotional, already loaded with blame. Your father is struggling, she said. And instead of helping, you hang up on him? Did you forget how we stood by you when your husband left? I nearly choked. You let me live there because I paid rent, I said. I hired a nanny. You didn't help. What support are you talking about? She softened instantly. Gina, please, she said. Sloan is pregnant. She just needed space. This is temporary. Temporary. The word made me see red. She didn't ask me to move, I said. She threw my daughter out. You locked your door and let it happen. Silence. Then, quietly, she's immature. You're older. Be the bigger person. I laughed again. No, I said, I'm done being the doormat. That was the moment I cut the cord. A month passed. I found a small apartment, hired a kind, older nanny, got promoted. Life stabilized. And then they showed up at my work, looking older, smaller, begging. And I realized something chilling. They didn't come for me. They came for my money. I saw them through the glass before security even called my desk. My parents, standing in the lobby of my office building like they didn't belong there, because they didn't. My father's shoulders were slumped, his jacket hanging loose like it had lost its purpose. My mother clutched her purse with both hands, her hair thinner, grayer than I remembered. They looked small, fragile, older than their years. For a moment, my chest tightened. Then I remembered Lily sitting on the porch with her knees pulled to her chest. I told the receptionist I couldn't meet anyone and asked security to escort them out. They argued. I could see it through the blinds, my father gesturing wildly, my mother crying, security trying to stay polite but firm. People were staring. Whispers traveled. It should have embarrassed me. Instead, curiosity won. I stepped out. The moment my mother saw me, she broke down. Oh, Gina, she sobbed, rushing toward me like nothing had happened, like she hadn't locked her door while my child was terrified outside. My father spoke quickly before I could say anything. We lost the house, he said. Just like that. No apology, no accountability, straight to the damage. The bank kicked us out last month, he continued. We couldn't keep up with the payments. We've been living in a one-bedroom apartment. The house is up for sale. I listened, quietly, carefully. And Sloan? I asked. They exchanged a look. Mom looked down, Dad answered. Her husband kicked her out, he said. He found out she was cheating, and the baby isn't his. I blinked. What? All the stories were lies, he admitted. The transfer, the company housing, none of it was real. She was hiding here. I felt sick. And you still chose her, I said softly. Mom clutched the infant in her arms, Sloane's baby, and cried harder. How could we abandon her, she said. She had nowhere to go. We used our savings for her medical bills. I nodded slowly. Then I asked, where is she now? At home, Dad said. She refuses to work. Of course. They begged me to save the house, to pay the overdue mortgage. I told them I couldn't, and for the first time in my life, I meant it. Later, my manager pulled me aside. She'd seen everything. Why don't you buy the house? She asked gently. Put it in your name. You've already paid for it. The idea settled in my mind like clarity. I made them an offer. I'd pay the mortgage, but the house would be mine, and Sloan would never live there again. They never called me back. That was my answer. They never called. Not that day, not the next week, not even when the house was officially listed and the for sale sign went up. I found out through a neighbor, someone I hadn't spoken to since I moved out. She sent me a photo like it was gossip, like it was entertainment. I stared at the sign on my phone screen for a long time, and then I put the phone down and went to help Lily with her homework. That was the moment I knew I was done. Not angry done, not revenge done. Just finished. Life moved on quietly after that. I settled fully into our small apartment. It wasn't big, and it wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Lily had her own room. Her walls were covered in crayon drawings and stickers that didn't have to be approved by anyone else. I hired a nanny named Martha, a warm, middle-aged woman with a gentle voice and a son 5 years older than Lily. She brought him along after school, and soon our home was filled with laughter again. Real laughter, not the strained kind I used to fake around my parents. Lily stopped wetting the bed. The nightmares faded. She slept through the night with her door open and the light off, something she hadn't done since the day on the porch. As for me, I stopped checking my phone for missed calls that were never coming. I stopped rehearsing conversations in my head where I finally said the right thing and they finally understood. They never would. And that was okay. A year passed. Lily started elementary school. I watched her walk into her classroom on the first day with her backpack bouncing against her shoulders, and I felt something close to peace settle into my chest. I had chosen her. I had chosen us. Not the version of family that demanded sacrifice without protection. Not the version that enabled cruelty and called it love. I chose the family I was building, with safety, boundaries, and honesty. Sometimes people ask if I regret it, if I miss my parents, if I feel guilty for not saving their house, if I worry about Sloan. The truth? No. Because the day they locked their doors while my child sat outside in fear, they made their choice. And this time, I finally made mine too.